Hello, my name is Wildstag, and thank you for tuning in to another used book rant. Today, I'm going to be covering this book, Spear. This one I saw on the shelf of a used bookstore in Denver back in July, and I paid $10 for it. And though it is a relatively new book, I did still see it used, which is kind of a bummer because it's a really fascinating story. This is copyright 2022, first edition, and it has some good praise on it. I've heard a lot of good things about the Kaiju Preservation Society, and so John Scalzi has some praise here. This is a Arthurian kind of myth story, and those can be hit or miss, but those are also generally following a very well-known story beats. And so how they come about changing the story to be new is what matters. And this book does it incredibly well. And I don't think it's necessarily new in the sense of, if you are more familiar with retellings of different mythos, you're going to come across other books that do something similar to this. But this one has found commercial success and is very, very light but wholesome as well. This book is only 167 pages long, but aside from that, it's quick and to the point. I think of it a lot like Untethered Sky, which is behind me on the shelf. And actually, these two books sit next to each other on that shelf. They're similar in length, and they do very similar things. They're about different kinds of themes, but they're subversive in really interesting ways. Untethered Sky is about loss and about growth after hardship, whereas this is about love and growing from your past, that you can grow past your ancestors, your previous generations. Let's see, one thing I did forget to mention earlier, the interior art is copyright Rovina Kai. The jacket art is also by Rovina Kai, and the jacket designed by Christine Fultzer. Those names probably don't necessarily mean much, but I do like to credit the artists when I get a chance to. This book, I mentioned it's Arthurian myth. This is about a Percival story. Percival meaning a Holy Grail quest. And in this case, that's kind of a subversion because the main character is named Peridor and is the child of a woman who follows the old ways, and as you later find out, one of the greater entities within the Welsh mythology. And this is specifically an intersection of like the Welsh and Cornish mythology and Christianity. Arthur, the Holy Grail, all of that is explicitly tied to Christianity and the spread of Christianity into Great Britain. So to have the main character be a spear-wielding woman from the old ways is a pretty big declaration in the story, and it evolves in really fascinating ways. I think this is very non-spoilery, but is also necessary to share how it connects to the Holy Grail. In this telling of the Welsh mythology, there are 4 very sacred and powerful objects, and one of them is a bowl or a chalice. And it is explicitly from the Fir Bolg and like that kind of mythology, because the old ways are dying out and there are a lot of Christian knights that are looking for glory. The Welsh, the mythological powers are sending out dreams to everyone. First the priests and the knights, and then eventually even the peasants start intercepting those dreams about the quest, this search for the Holy Grail, thus using the devotion of these Christians to further the Welsh mythological entity's aims. Peridor is involved in a story of trying to become a knight through her devotion to the people, through her martial talent and her ability to fight, through her love for another person, and through her camaraderie with these knights. She doesn't immediately start the story, or when she does meet the knights, she isn't immediately accepted into them. She has to go on some kind of quest to show her strength and devotion to that cause. But along the way, she fights a man and then shows mercy to him. And in being shown mercy, he is more accepting of her, and then is the one who endorses her when she is trying to become a member of the Round Table. That he claims this is a knight errant who is capable of besting me in combat, who is capable of humbling me but sparing me in mercy, and who is beloved by all of the land and is known for defeating bandits and other people that are harassing the folk that you, the king, and your knights can't get to because they have other tasks. So Peridor is successful in a lot of ways, and then is able to convert that success into her path and her destiny. I really liked it. It is a lesbian romance. It is a Arthurian story that I found to be new enough, or done well enough rather, that I feel like reading it. A lot of those kinds of books try to lean really hard into like an older English affect, and this does have that, but it doesn't try to write in that type of way or have a certain aura, a certain like vibe to it. A lot of the ones I see on the shelves at Coas, which I frequent, or just other bookstores, tend to be very dry or older in style. So Spear is a good one. I really enjoy it. Like I said, I spent $10 on this, and let's just look at that art again. It's a really beautiful piece of art, this jacket. And this right there is the chalice from which all this other energy is coming up. The red, the striking red of Peritor, and the striking red of Peritor, and the spear that she wields, and the horse that she rides, but also more traditional types of imagery as well. There's, looking at it deeper, there's a sword set in the stone. There's the lake, the enchantress. There's all these different aspects of the cover art that just lend itself well to a new story. And I really, really liked it. There isn't just one plot line happening. There is a bit of interaction with the magic users, who are explicitly from a pre-Christian, from that older way, but are also interacting pretty heavily with the main story and trying to surpass Merlin and the generations that came before. And how did Merlin affect the people and the deities, and all these different aspects you discover as you read it. And it has a lot to say and cover in just that 168 pages. It does it really quickly, it does it really well. And then also, I just really liked the author's note, which comes at the end of the book from page 168 through 177, and then with some footnotes as well. One of the paragraphs I really like says, "More importantly for me, historical accuracy also meant this could not be a story of only straight, white, non-disabled men. Crips, queers, women, and other genders and people of color are an integral part of the history of Britain. We are embedded at every level of society, present during every change, and part of every problem and its solution. We are here now, we were there then, so we are in this story. In addition, as I don't much care for stories that are only concerned with those at the pinnacle of power, privilege, and prestige, that's not who I wrote about. Spear became not a traditional hero's journey, the story of a supremely selfish superhero with no mother who does everything for and by himself, and who, in relentless pursuit of his goal, which is to win, strews his path with wreckage and weeping, then returns home unchanged, but something between an Erbildungsroman and a true hero's journey. As in the early folktales in which an orphan or otherwise unwanted son, it's always a son, sets out to seek his fortune, Peritor does set out to find her place in the world, but does it unprovoked by loss. Her mother is still very much alive. Her mother and her past are not something she wants to forget, just as she is not unloved, unwanted, or unadmired at home. And though, like all heroes, Peritor does set out to win, winning for her is not a binary, a zero-sum game in which winners win and losers lose. She can win without someone else losing. Winning for Peritor is not just about triumphing over enemies and slaying monsters, which of course she does, but about learning, changing, and growing. Her journey is not linear, but circular. She revisits her past and the people in it. The main difference between Peritor's journey and a traditional hero's journey is that her real goal is connection, finding her people and a place to belong, finding happiness for herself and others, at least for now. The author really knows what she's going for and what she wants to tell in this story, and that's what I really appreciate about it. It knows what it wants to do, and it does it incredibly well. I spent, like I said, $10 on this book, but I would be happy to have picked this up and read it new. It says on the jacket $19.99, and I would be willing to pay for this new. And I think if you find it on the shelves, and you might still find it on the shelves given how new it is, buy it. It is a good book. If you see it on a used bookshelf, then, buy it because it's cheaper and it's a good book. So I liked it. Hopefully you like it for the same reasons I did. And if you dislike it, I don't know, tell me about it. But yeah. My name is Wildstag, and thank you for tuning in to another used book rant.